Yo, 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 what is up? Oh, I forgot to press the button. Um, yo, 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 what is up? I am your boy Nerdtaku. I am rocking it solo dolo today. Um, and I kind of wanted to start this live out, uh, live off with. Actually, I only have a few packs of OP 15 left. So I wanted to open them on stream just because I thought it'd be fun. So that way, I can show the cool people what I got here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a hit tower. So I'm just going to pull the hits out of the back of the packs. And then I'm going to showcase just the hits. Because really, that's what everyone's after, right? It's just the hits. But I am super excited for this chapter of One Piece. I feel like we got a substantial break. Not a substantial break. It was just one break week, but it felt substantial because of how things were left with the last chapter. So I feel like we've all kind of been just waiting to see what happens here. Me personally, I'm very excited for what this chapter will bring. I'm really hoping we finally get some Luffy emu action. So hopefully we can see what we see some Luffy action this chapter. At least I hope, or at least we get Luffy arriving to the battlefield. But all right, let's start off here. So we got Nami, we got Ohm, we got Helmeppo. Oh, hold on. Whoa, okay. We have a Wiper alt art here. Okay, that's dope. That is a good hit. We have, what does that even say? Oh, Black Rope Dragon Twister. We have Alvida. We have Sanji. Ooh, we have Rob Lucci SR. We have Nico Robin. And then we have Mamaraga. And then we have, what does that say? Go ahead and use them, Mr. Luffy. And then last but not least, Kaku. God, what a thing to end on. Overall, not bad for my last 6 packs. The only thing is, though, I'm a huge Wiper fan. And Wiper goes crazy, and this alt art is super dope. So, very excited about that. That is an add to the collection. The rest of them are kind of fodder that I'll probably wind up selling. And, yeah, but without further ado, let's jump into this. If you're new here, the chapter is down, hold on, down over here in the corner. You should see my logo, and it's kind of like transparent, but you can kind of see the chapter. So, let's jump into it. So we start off with this really cool color spread. And it says One Piece in the corner, and then says make a splash. And then we see an elephant shooting the Straw Hats out of like his water. Brook looks really dope. I'm not gonna lie. I think he looks super cool here. I mean, all the Straw Hats look so good. Nami looks good. Robin looks good. Usopp's interesting. He's on another elephant. Jinbei looks like a goat. Frankie is interesting. Frankie looks like his hair is an elephant. So, and then Luffy looks like he's doing like his normal Gear 5 pose, but outside of Gear 5. So, really cool. I really like this color spread. It's dope. But let's keep it rocking here. Oh, I messed up. I put my daughter down for a nap, and I have to have her on my phone so I can. She might have woke up. I might have to run and grab her. We'll see. We'll see if she lulls herself back to sleep. We're gonna do single panel because I think it's more fun. Plus, it doesn't spoil anything. Excuse me. Okay. Time to get into it. Emu says, Ragnir, thou wert waiting, huff huff, for one who could strike back against Mu. Isn't that right? And Ratatoskr is like, Kirky. And then you see Loki and he says, what nonsense are you talking about? I've never seen someone absorb so much damage. And then, so Loki is huffing and huffing. Or wait, no. Yeah, Loki is huffing and huffing. And then Emu says, Loki, Straw Hat Luffy, in any case, thou wilt not be my soldiers, so I shall eliminate thee instead. Okay. Let's see how Emu plans to do that. Oh shit, we got a double spread, I think. Here we go. He takes his, spear and puts the omen fire on top of the spear and said, just like Dozan. Just like Dozan. And he goes, huff, huff, Ragna Duel. And it says, Blade of Wrathgram. Interesting. Wait, no, hold on. So, Emu says, just like Dozan. Blade of Wrathgram. And Loki says, Ragna Duelheim. Okay, so they're clashing. Very interesting. Okay, I think my daughter went back to sleep. Then we see Western Village. And all the giants are like, take back the children. And we see Zaza. I'm going to go back to single panel. Yeah. Another double. Damn. Double spreads are going crazy. And someone says, we're not letting them be taken away. And Ripley says, after all we did to save them, you're not taking our kids. And they're all in the underwater because Zaza's made of water. And it says, wait, you guys, you shouldn't be moving around. I haven't finished your blood transfusions. Chopper's yelling at them. And it says, you really will die. And Ripley says, my life means nothing to me if my son is ripped away from my arms. Bars. That goes crazy. I can't wait to see the voice actor for Ripley and see her go crazy on that. Pause. Not go crazy on it, Not go crazy on Gabon. Honestly, this would be a great time for Gabon to show up, low key. And it looks like Zaza's just blasting them with water. And the kids are like, help us. And Killingham's like, only 7 of them? It'll have to do. Let's go, Zaza. And it says, whatever happened, what's happening over here? And we see Sanji's face. Come on, Sanji. Show me you're that guy. Show me you're that guy. Oh, so now we see the ice is still holding Gunko. It says, Brook, why did you run off to fight that woman? And it says, I had to jump in after you because it seemed like something was wrong. It's like 3 dots. And it says, do you know her, Brook? Was she some enemy you fought against in the past? And it says, no, not an enemy, but a person I did not want to see. Or so I thought. I'm so confused right now. Brooke says, if it's really her, then she must be 77 years old right now. And they're like, huh? And Nami's like, so it must be someone else, right? I mean, she's a celestial dragon. And Usopp's like, yeah, at the time this is Brooks talking. It says, yes, at the time she was the princess of my homeland. And I lost contact with her when she traveled to sacred Marie Joie. It's like, huh? And Usopp's like, huh? This is interesting. And who's that coming over here? Oh, it looks like Frankie. And Frankie's like, hey, Brooke, that chick's still frozen. Can't tell if she's alive or dead. We can just leave her there, yeah? And it says, what I'm saying is, she's a celestial dragon who looks exactly like someone you knew. Doesn't change the fact that she came here to attack Elbaf. And Brooke said, yes, but when we were tied up earlier, she was the one who undid the rope. And it was like when Usopp escaped. And it says, yes, I'm free. I feel like my mental powers did that. So it's like the flashback of them doing that. Brooke says, why would she do such a thing? And you see Gunko say, run, Brooke. How does she know who I am? And it says, and then she turned back into that demonic form again. Her original personality, the personality that saved us from her demonic form, it feels as though we've seen 3 different people in her. And Nami says, you think it's possible that she's being controlled? And then Jinbei says, or no, maybe this is Brooke still. It did not occur to me at first, but after seeing people turned into demons today, I must admit, I feel deeply disturbed in my core. And Jinbei says, I hate to rush you, Brooke, but we need a decision. Does she live or die? We can't do anything before that's settled. I mean, really? Like, I don't know if that's, like, super necessary, right? And then Brooke says, a long time ago, truly a long time ago, she was just a child and I was a young man too. It was in a country that no longer exists. Asperia. Interesting. Very interesting. And it says, Asperia was a land of music, full of workshops, crafting instruments of all kinds. And it says, West Blue, 70 years ago, 4 a.m. And it says, like, strum, shaka, shaka, ahem, check, check. A 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we see someone say, wake up at the crack of dawn, and it's a good morning made. The start of a brand new world. Oh, they say there's many seas that can be survived, but all I need is good morning made. Good morning, Asperia. No more waiting for favorable winds. And two people are getting up and says, shut up, I got a hangover. And Brooke continues, I think this is Brooke. It says, it's time to set sail, baby. How you doing in the back streets? And someone's like, be quiet. And looks like a little girl waking up saying, good morning, Brooke. And says, what about the port? Hey, Arena. Very interesting. Whoa, what the fuck? And it says, oh, how I wish to see a sexy mermaid someday. And someone says, shut up, Brooke. And someone says, Brooke, my fave. And then someone says, hope you get fired from the battle convoy. And then he continues, oh, it'll make me lose my soul now. That's what I call a bad end made. And someone says, oh, brother, get me up my gun. And then he says, yeah. And he's definitely doing the Nika pose, 100%. And then we say, this is the land of instrument makers, Asperia. And it says, Asperia Palace, Barracks. And all these people are like, come on, Captain, teach us how to do your quick draw techniques. And they're like, it's not fair. That Princess Shuri gets all your attention. And then it looks like Brooke says, this is pathetic. What do you think I'm teaching you now? Learn the fundamentals before you dream. And says, I wonder what our dinner is tonight. Yeah, I'm starving. Gather up all of the crew. So it looks like he's singing Binks's Brew. Oh, wow. It says, time to ship out Binks's Brew. Sea wind blows to where who knows. The waves will be our guide. Over across the ocean tide. The sunset is going wild. See the... Oh, and this is her singing. So she's singing the other part. See the sky, birds singing in circles passing by. And we get Kingdom of Asperia, leader of the Raider Squad, Battle Convoy, Brooke, age 20. And then it says, I worked hard today. You think I got any stronger? Just like Mama? And it says, Kingdom of Asperia, Princess Shuri, age 7. Interesting. And then we see Brooke say, yes, Her Majesty is very powerful. Ah, Queen Candela, light of my life. And it looks like Shuri says, it's not good to fall in love with a married woman, Brooke. And he said, what? What do you mean? Love is free. And then we see Kingdom of Asperia, King Reuven. And he says, I sentence you to death for conspiracy. And Brooke's like, too harsh. Please, boss. I mean, Your Majesty. And then Shuri says, Papa. And he says, you were plotting to kill me, weren't you? And he says, of course not. Don't even suggest it. I'll wait until death takes you. And Shuri says, come on, Brooke. Forget about Mama. And Shuri says, don't worry, Brooke. When I grow up, I'll marry you instead. And then the king says, "No, Shuri, you're supposed to say goofy stuff like that to me and melt my heart." That's creepy. Creepy AF, brother. And Brooke says, "Oh, no, thanks. I'd prefer a wife without a runny nose." That's crazy. And then the king's like, "What? You picky oaf. How dare you turn down my daughter in front of me?" And Brooke dodges his kick and says, "I'm nothing if not faithful." And he laughs, and Shuri is cracking up. And then one of the guards comes and says, "I hate to interrupt the fun, Your Majesty. There's a gang on horseback riding through the city from the port. Some of the battle convoy is in town, but they're outnumbered. We've sent more from the castle, but I don't think they'll make it in time." And the king says, "What are they after?" Interesting. It says, "They've been shouting for Queen Candela, who is enjoying an opera in town." And someone says, "What? Is it the Molon family?" And they're like, "Yes, sir. They've been after Candela for years. When did they land at port?" And it says, "Send word to Candela not to leave the opera house." And the king says, oh, it looks like one of the guards says, "The opera house transponder snail is on silent mode during the show." And he's like, "Ah." And Shuri's like, "Do something, Brooke. They're going to kidnap Mama." And Brooke says, "The Moulin Rouges, you say? Why, that's odd. I saw them in the port earlier today." What is he doing? Bro is bad at his job. He's like, "Oh, that's weird. I saw them earlier." He's like, "And you didn't say anything, brother?" That's pretty wild. Especially if they've been after her for a while. And he's in love with her. That's a crazy thing to do. And then we see Theater Street. And it looks like people are being gunned down. It says, "It's a horseback gang." And there's this dude who has like a scar on his face. Looks kind of crazy. It says Opera House. And we hear, "Rah!" And looks like someone's standing there and says, "Ah, a beautiful performance." It says, "Come out, Candela. We have permission to shoot from Don Molan if you don't." And it says, "Today's the day we settle this. You're going to be the Don's woman once and for all." And it looks like he shoots somebody. And the gangster says, "Make sure Her Majesty doesn't leave the..." And it says, "Arg." And the king's like, "Help Brooke." And Brooke's like, "It's going to be fine, boss. For one thing, she's very strong. They can't take her away." And then it says, "Plus, well, I'm rather stunned they haven't noticed yet. You see, by the time they left the port..." "I'd already cut them all." And like just all of them just start feeling like the cuts all over their body. And it says, "What just happened?" It says, "Oh, wait, is this one of those they were already cut things?" It says, "Then 3 pace hum notch slash." And it says, "Oh, Sir Brooke, he's so dashing." And so it says, "Look, there's Her Majesty. What a beauty she is." And then it says, "It was Captain Brooke's quick draw." And then it says, "Look, there she is. What a beauty. 70 years ago, the kingdom of Asperia harbored two great stars. One, the former captain of the battle convoy and current Queen Candela. The other, an unpopular musician but a master of the quick draw sword technique that left its victims unaware they'd been slashed. The leader of the raider squad, Humming Brook. And she comes out and says, what a scene out here. And it says, Kingdom of Asperia, Queen Candele. In this era, the kingdom was at peace. Interesting. Wow, I didn't know we were gonna get this during the arc. That means, oh my god, this is so crazy. We got in Elbaf, we got a flashback of Rox. We got Harold's flashback, and we got Loki's flashback, all muddled into one, which was crazy. Then on top of that, we also, even though it was kind of momentary, we got a little bit of a flashback of Emu and Joy Boy. Just like a one panel type thing. And now we're getting Brooks' flashback of his time in the battle convoy and like what Princess Shuri was doing and stuff like that. Now he said that she was a patricidal maniac, which means that she killed her father. So that means that for some reason, but even in this, like she was pretending like she was cool with her dad, like, you know, so something happens here that turns them into a celestial dragon somehow. She goes to Marie Joie somehow. I wonder if it was during a reverie and if that reverie resulted in her being taken for some reason. Maybe she has something special about her. Very interesting. Also, very weird choice to be like, she wanted to marry Brooke when she got older, when she was 7. Kind of weird. Whatever. It's anime, manga. It does that. Definitely a very interesting chapter. But also, the only problem I have with this, and maybe it's gonna be short. I'm really hoping it's short. I'm hoping it's maybe 3 chapters at most. Like God Valley, I feel like was such a hype flashback that we were like, I want more. I want more. Tell me more about Rox. Tell me more about Harold's relationship with him. All that stuff. And we were like pining for that. But this is kind of like, not that nobody asked for it, but it's almost like to the point where people are so hype about what's happening right now with Emu and Loki, and they're wondering where the fuck Luffy's at. I mean, look at me. I am just as guilty of it because I literally was like, yo, why in God's name hasn't Luffy made his move? And I know it's building anticipation. I get it. But there's a portion of that that's almost like, you got to strike while the iron's hot. People are hype about Luffy joining this fight and actually squaring off with the big bad. To cut away for a flashback is probably going to piss some people off. Not me. I really don't. I don't really have any hate towards this because I feel like we were bound to get it eventually. I just didn't think it would be while Emu was actively being the aggressor. I thought maybe we would get it after the fact once like Emu, Gunko, and all them leave. The fact that we're getting it now kind of feels like Gunko is going to be a turncoat. Maybe not in Elbaf, but down the line. Because I feel like Gunko and Brook are going to have a moment where they talk and kind of reconcile things maybe. Or at least plant the seed of reconciliation between them. And so I feel like that's going to be a very interesting thing to see later down the line. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm overthinking this. But again, I feel like a lot of people are, if this goes on longer than like 3 chapters, I could see people getting a little salty. Um, you know, like it's the end of May. So if by, the end of June, we're still in Brooks flashback, I can see people being like, Oda, what are you doing? We were in the middle of the action and you cut away to something that is less interesting than the actual, thing that's currently happening in the story. Now, when we cut away, when Emu and took over Gunko's body and started bodying people and taking over the giants and stuff like that, some people were like, yo, what are we doing right now? Like, okay, I guess we need Loki's backstory, but like, what are we doing? Then they realized what it was. They realized it was Harold. They realized it was rocks. They realized it was Loki. All 3 of those things were happening in concurrence in the same backstory, and people were like, I'm cool with it. Let's stay in that moment, Let's really flush this out. I love rocks. I love the lore behind it. I want to know why he was erased. All of these things. Right? This I feel like is not as hype, and I think unless it is very compelling, people will start to feel the same way they did then. So, like I said, I have all the faith in Oda. It's a very interesting move of his to cut away like this, when literally the big bad of the series is duking it out with Loki, and Sanji's about to duke it out with Killingham, and Zoro's about to get to Somers. Here's the thing. This could either be really great or it could be kind of iffy, just because of the fact that we're about to tee off on 3 to 4 major fights. And so if he doesn't do this right, this could be a little sketchy. I think that this is a good time to do this because of all the stuff that is currently about to tee off. Like, it hasn't, sure, Loki and Emu are fighting, but it's not the same as Luffy being there and, them all being face to face. Like, they haven't squared off, if you will. So this is I either would have wanted this now or I would have wanted this end of arc. But the fact that we're getting it now shows me that there's a possibility that Oda knows exactly what he's doing because of like how he plans on setting this up to be also a part of the fights. This could be the setup for a convoluted fight, not convoluted, but like kind of like a conflicting fight between Brooke and Gunko once she gets freed. Then we have Killingham and Sanji, Somers and Zoro, Loki, Luffy versus Emu. That could be the tee up that he's going for here, and I'm for it, because to me, kind of makes sense. He just really needs to land this backstory and do it in a timely manner to where it doesn't feel like it's, giving a huge pause for the action that is currently taking place. So I think he can do it. I have faith in him. I know a lot of people probably are going to feel a certain way about it, but I think he can do it. So we'll just have to, time will tell. but it seems like there's no break week, so we're probably going to get right back into it. And I'd imagine we're probably going to get 11:34 and then 11:35, and then it'll be a break week. And most likely, if I was a betting man, I would say 11:35 or 11:85 at the end of the chapter is when we come back to Elbaf and things set up in the way that we see Luffy coming back into the fight with Loki against Emu. And, you know, everyone does get into their tee off positions, and maybe there's some sort of crazy cliffhanger. And then 11:86 after a break week will be the start of the actual fights. So that's just my thought process on it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because, you know, I feel like this chapter did some interesting things. It wasn't amazing, but it was good. You know, a lot of the stuff that we're having right now is pretty awesome. I'm just gonna run through it one more time real quick just to kind of go over my thoughts, and we'll go from there. The fact that Emu said that Ragnir was waiting this whole time for somebody who could fight Emu just shows that Loki he's kind of him. And them clashing here is very interesting, especially because he just seems so strong. Then we get the whole Zaza thing, and I love this moment from Ripley. I mean, Ripley's had a lot of fucking amazing moments. Honestly, she's one of my MVPs for this arc, to be honest. A lot of people probably aren't even thinking of her in that vein, but she's had some of the most impactful emotional moments for me in this arc. So that was really cool. Just this like kind of go back and forth between the Straw Hats and Brooke is interesting. It felt like a lot of back and forth for not a lot of actual like resolution. But then once we finally get into it was kind of making the Straw Hats understand like the only reason that we got away and the like we were able to do things was because she was able to break free of her demonic form and do that. But then we start getting this whole thing where Brooke is singing, and then his like whole Nika pose in the sun in the what is it called? Sunrise is interesting because one, it's the Nika pose for sure. Like that's not even a question. But on top of that, it is in the sunrise. So what's really interesting is this is a kingdom of musicians and musical instruments and all this other stuff. And one of Nika's things is bringing a beat, you know, the drums of liberation, he has a musical aspect to him. So it's not crazy to think that this kingdom, Asperia, worships Nika or has Nika a part of the culture or something like that, or you know, I don't know. Like the fact that he's doing the Nika pose and it's a kingdom of musicians, kind of crazy. And the fact that Gunko was one of the first God Knights to mention how she's terrified of Nika. And Brooke seemingly also confirmed that his country no longer exists. So did they just get completely wiped out because they worship Nika? I don't know. There's a lot of questions that I have here, and maybe they'll get answers. When the King Reuven was introduced, I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be a piece of shit. I can look at him one time and think he's gonna be a piece of shit. But he didn't really seem that bad. I mean, he was worried about his queen. He was messing around with Brooke. making jokes about like I sentence you to death for conspiracy, all this other stuff. Um, it's interesting. The fact that Brooke said that he saw them in the morning and stuff like that was like, oh, this guy's fucking ass at his job. But then we finally got to the point where he like was like, oh, I'd already cut them this morning, and it just took effect now, whenever this is happening, and it's like that's so crazy. Because we've seen Brooke walk past someone and be like, oh, but too bad I've already cut you. Like, that's crazy. But this is like hours later, it seems. Um, and then talking about like the rising stars being Candela and Brooke. Very interesting. And Brooke seemingly being in love with her. Um, just a very interesting chapter. It definitely didn't like hit like crazy like the last chapters, but it had some sauce to it. I'd say this chapter is probably like a 7.5. It had some interesting stuff. It had some build to it, but it wasn't like I didn't leave this chapter going like, oh my god, this is rewriting the history of One Piece or anything. Like it didn't do anything super groundbreaking. Um, but I'm interested. I'm interested in how Oda's going to do this, how he's going to flush this information out mid tee off basically, between Loki and Emu, and make it compelling enough for the readers to stay super invested while also waiting for that fight to continue. So, like I said, it's got the makings of greatness. I just need to see it happen now. So, um, overall though, it was definitely awesome to see, and I'm excited to see where this goes from here. But I really want to know your thoughts in the comments. Like, was I off base with anything? Do you think that this is a good time to do the flashback for Brooke and Shuri? Or do you think like maybe this would have been better after the fact? I don't know. And again, like I said, I think Oda's going to make it work regardless. He's such a master craftsman of his story. Um, so I think he's going to make it work regardless. But do you feel like it's taking you out of it now that this fight is not going to tee off right now and we're going to get a flashback mid epic event that is happening, like the worst day in Elbaf's history? So yeah, please make sure to comment your thoughts on that. I say this every time, but One Piece is better as a conversation. I love having that conversation with you guys. So anytime I can interact with you guys, or you guys have a point you want to make, shoot it over, comment it, comment it, tag me in the Discord, or send me a direct message in Discord. But that is my time. I appreciate you for showing up. Please like the stream if you haven't. And yeah, I'm just super excited for what next chapter brings. So I will be back here next weekend for 1184, and we will see what all this entails. But as always, I am your boy, Nerdtaku, and I will see your faces next time. Jana.